So getting started as a Scrum Master, you might have gone through the 2-day professional Scrum Master course, taken the test and passed, and that's awesome. And now it's a question of how do you get the experience. And so we like to recommend getting started wherever you are. So a lot of folks are project managers, maybe they're development leads, possibly QA leads. How can you form a way of perhaps doing something like a daily Scrum? So getting a group together and talking every day about what is it that we've been working on, how is it going, what blocks might we have, so we can figure out what is the focus of the day for our group and how are we doing towards accomplishing our goal. I've had other folks get started by facilitating retrospectives. It might not be every week or every 2 weeks, it could be every month or so, maybe it's after a release, but some way of facilitating an event for us to come together and talk about what happened, how might we improve things going forward. What you might be picking up on is you're not actually looking to adopt Scrum holistically from the get-go. When you're having to transition wherever you are, you're looking perhaps at how do I get started with elements of Scrum so I can build up practice using those. Could be forming a backlog and how we use that to manage our work. It could be how we get our stakeholders to give us an order for the work so we understand what's the most important thing. Now, I've had other folks tell me, Allison, that sounds awesome, however, I'm not in a place where I can do that, or I actually don't have a job right now. What do I do? Well, in those cases, you might look at where can you volunteer? I've had folks work in church organizations or nonprofits and find ways that they could, again, introduce Scrum to help a group come together and solve some problems or deliver a service or a product. In my own case, I had been involved in a professional engineering fraternity, and I actually helped coordinate our leadership academy. And so another organizer and I had formed our own backlog, thinking through all of the logistics and planning that needed to happen, as well as on my side, I was doing a lot to recruit volunteers to be facilitators and then create the content that they would be teaching to a bunch of college students. And so we would use this backlog and have periodic meetings for us to come together and talk about the progress we had been making, and then we would actually practice facilitating with one another. And so everyone got an idea of what it was like to be in front of a group, introducing some content, and helping that group to learn and process it. The time that we came together and actually had the event itself, we would do something like a daily Scrum. And so in the mornings we would come together, and sometimes in the afternoons as well, and talk about how things were going, what materials might we need, did we need to adjust the schedule. And so it was a way for us to sync up on a very quick basis during the event to talk about what was most important. And then, of course, at the end of the event, we had our own retrospective and talked about what were the things that we would want the future organizers to do differently, and make sure that we captured those into some recommendations that we could then give to the next group. And so that was another way for us to find ways of introducing Agile and getting experience with Scrum that was outside of the workplace.